Two smartphones with similar price tags but different stories. I'd help you decide which is best value for you between the Samsung Galaxy A55 and the Redmi Note 14 Pro Plus 5G. And so without taking much of your time, yo guys, let's get started. Both smartphones come with the basics including the smartphones, manuals and the cables, but Redmi packs a 90 watts charger which sets it apart and gives you better value. For the design, the Redmi Note 14 Pro Plus has a premium feel with a weight of around 210 grams and a solid IP68 or IP69K water and dust resistance rating. That means you can dunk it up to 2 meters underwater for 24 hours. If you're clumsy, this one's got your back. It's slightly slimmer and taller than the Samsung Galaxy A55, which weighs a touch more at 213 grams and offers IP67 protection, meaning it can handle being submerged in 1 meter of water for only 30 minutes. So obviously this is better. Sure, both smartphones have glass finishes with Gorilla Glass protection, but while the Samsung edges ahead with Gorilla Glass Victus Plus, the Redmi counters with the ultra tough Gorilla Glass Victus 2. So in terms of durability, the Redmi seems to be the tougher cookie here. But which one feels better in the hand? Honestly, both are solid and comfortable, but the Redmi's narrower design might be a little easier to grip for one-handed use. The devices have in-display fingerprint scanners, and unlocking the Redmi feels easier because of its form factor. Also, did I mention that the Redmi's power button is easier to reach as it's slightly lower in position than what you get from the A55. Now, both of these devices have dual SIM trays, but the Samsung allows you to use the SIM 2 slot for memory expansion, and that's the hybrid SIM tray type. So there is no means to expand the storage on the Redmi device. Both devices deliver stereo speakers, which is great for media lovers. However, while Redmi is pushing some high-res 24-bit audio, Samsung is glossing over these finer audio details. But in the real world, I can tell you for free that Samsung has the better bass and is clearer at the top volume. By the way, neither includes a 3.5mm headphone jack. Yeah, not on these devices. Now, a good screen is essential for binge watching Netflix or scrolling endlessly on TikTok, right? You're guilty, I know. The Redmi Note 14 Pro Plus flaunts a 6.67-inch AMOLED display with a buttery smooth 120Hz refresh rate, HDR10+, Dolby Vision, and wait for it, a peak brightness of 3000 nits. That's like having a mini sun in your pocket. You have no problem using the smartphone even in direct sunlight. On the Galaxy A55 side, we have a 6.6-inch Super AMOLED display, also with a 120Hz refresh rate and HDR10+, but with a more modest brightness peak of 1000 nits. So if bright outdoor visibility is your thing, the Redmi's display will likely give you that extra punch. With regards to resolution, the Redmi has a slight edge with 1220 by 2712 resolution compared to Samsung's 1080 by 2340 pixel resolution, meaning things will be a tad crisper on the Redmi. Now, after watching a decent amount of videos on these devices, I prefer the display on the Redmi. Powering these bad boys are very different brains. The Redmi Note 14 Pro Plus runs on Qualcomm Snapdragon 7S Gen 3 chipset with an octa-core CPU, a 4nm chipset, while the Samsung Galaxy A55 uses its in-house Exynos 1480. In terms of raw power, Redmi's Snapdragon is no joke. It delivers efficient performance for gaming, multitasking, and day-to-day tasks. It's paired with the Adreno 810 GPU, which handles graphics effortlessly. On the other hand, Samsung's Exynos 1480 doesn't disappoint, especially with the emphasis on power efficiency, thanks to its GPU. But in terms of benchmark head-to-heads, the Snapdragon chipset tends to take the win over Exynos. So if raw speed and multitasking prowess matter to you, the Redmi is probably the more impressive performer. One thing to note is that Samsung promises 4 years of major Android updates, whereas Redmi is capping its device at 3 major updates for the operating system. So if you're thinking long term, this could sway you towards Samsung. Both of these devices run on Android 14 with their respective Android skins, One UI and HyperOS. Before we keep going, tap on the subscribe button if you find this comparison helpful. We're just starting with more epic tech breakdowns like this, and I'd hate for you to miss out. Also hit the like button to help us with the algorithm. Alright, let's get back to the video. Now let's dive into the cameras because this is where things start to get interesting. Starting with the front cameras, Redmi has the 20 megapixel sensor and Samsung has a 32 megapixel sensor. Now both smartphones have their strengths, but some differences are worth pointing out. The selfie camera gives you decent photos on the Redmi Note 14 Pro Plus, but you'll notice less detail overall, especially compared to the Galaxy A55. And don't be surprised if your skin tone looks a bit warmer or more pinkish on the Redmi. There's a slight red hue going on here, plus the images look a little soft, which might work for some people who like the automatic beauty filter effect. But if you prefer more realism, Samsung is the way to go. The Galaxy A55 pulls ahead with better background separation in portrait mode. The edges around the subject are just cleaner. On top of that, the blacks in Samsung selfies are richer and more accurate. So if you're into taking portrait style selfies with a cinematic blur, Samsung wins this round too. Now onto the rear cameras. It's a tight race here, with both smartphones rocking 50 megapixel primary cameras. The pictures are close in quality, but where the Galaxy A55 takes the edge is in the color accuracy, especially when it comes to greens. So for all the nature photographers out there, Samsung handles the greenery on leaves better, making the images pop a bit more, and in terms of zooming in, both smartphones are neck to neck for most details at 2x. But I have to give Redmi the edge when you zoom from 2.5x, as that's where the 50 megapixel optical zoom on board kicks in. Regarding video, the Galaxy A55 takes the crown for front-facing video. The skin tones and white balance are just more accurate out of the box, which means less time fiddling with editing apps. For the rear camera videos, Samsung also handles exposure more consistently, while Redmi tends to have more contrast. If you're shooting in 4K, you'll notice better stabilization on the Samsung at this resolution. Now the stabilization on Redmi isn't bad, but when you're, say, walking and recording, the A55 smooths out those motions better. As for the ultra-wide shots, Samsung does a better job once more by balancing out the shadows and white balance. It gives a more uniform picture, while the Redmi tends to lean harder into contrast, losing some of the shadow detail. That being said, in low light photos, things shift. The Redmi Note 14 Pro Plus surprises me. Whether you're shooting indoors or outdoors at night, it performs better in darker environments. If you fire up the night mode, Redmi trounces Samsung with clearer, sharper images. And when facing light sources during night photography, the Redmi handles the exposure like a champ, keeping things from getting overly blown out, whereas Samsung struggles a bit with light sources in the frame. So in the grand scheme of things, the rear camera photos between these two smartphones are close, especially in well-lit environments. But I have to give Samsung credit for handling greens and shadow exposures better, which in most cases makes for a higher quality shot during daytime photography. Overall, I'll go with the Samsung for the cameras. And now let's tackle battery life. The Redmi Note 14 Pro Plus has a beefy 6200 mAh battery and super fast 90-watt charging. This means you can juice up the smartphone in a fraction of the time compared to the Galaxy A55, which packs a 5000 mAh battery and a maximum of 25 watts wired charging. It's clear as day, the Redmi will last longer and charge faster. So if you're on the go a lot, this should be your peak as far as the power. These devices are priced similarly for around $330 or around 650,000 naira. You should be able to cop these devices, but the thing is, you'll be getting the base model on Samsung, which is 8 gigs of RAM and 128 gigs of internal storage, as opposed to the base model on Redmi, which is 12 gigs of RAM and double the storage, 256 gigs of internal storage. So better value for money here. Now the million or few $100 question is, which is better for you? The Redmi Note 14 Pro Plus offers a brighter and better display, a more powerful battery, super fast charging, a versatile camera setup, and better performance, all while keeping the price relatively affordable. It's an all-rounder with a little bit of flagship magic sprinkled in. However, the Samsung Galaxy A55 fights back with a tried-and-true interface with One UI and the guarantee of 4 major Android updates, one more year than what Redmi offers, and also an arguably slightly better camera, especially for the selfies. So which phone takes home the crown? Honestly, it depends on what you value. Power user, if you want the best all-rounder and better value for money, then go Redmi. Samsung fan and one more year of update and better selfies, then consider Samsung. Let me know in the comment section which you're leaning towards, and you can check out my review on these devices on this channel or this comparison YouTube things you love. Until then, I'll catch you in the next one. That day.